this whole episode felt like we were watching an RPG or a role-playing game brought to life with the inclusion of Bo-Katan and Koska Reeves into our party with Cara Dune, uh, Fennec, Boba Fett, Din Djarin. Uh, it was just done so well. But if you haven't seen the episode, I highly encourage you to go watch it and just really enjoy it. But to the RPG element of it all, that's your spoiler warning. Uh, Having the show started out with Boba Fett and crew going after and catching Dr. Pershing, to meeting up with Bo-Katan and Koska, and then making their way onto Gideon's light cruiser. It was done perfectly, where it felt like we were playing like a game, like one of the many Final Fantasy games, for example, or Star Ocean games, where you have your crew coming together to take down a big bad or uh, one of the mini bosses in the game. And the way they got onto Gideon's cruiser, the sneak attack of like the fake distress call, and just breaking in. It's like your party's on board, and now we're gonna go off and go do our own things. And you, as the main player, are off on your mission, while we all, as the side characters, go and do our own thing to all come together for the same good, or the same goal, if you will. And that was the episode, basically, in a nutshell. But beyond that, there was so much that they did right with the storytelling aspects of going to recruit Bo-Katan and Koska, with the comments of Bo-Katan talking to Boba Fett, saying that you're a clone, and Boba says, "No, this armor is my father's. I never said I was a Mandalorian." And Bo-Katan's like, "Don't you mean you're a donor?" Now, for those that don't know, Boba is Jango Fett's unaltered clone of Jango. So, in the Attack of the Clones movie, Jango, who we find out is the donor for the clone army, asked for a single clone that was unaltered in the aging process. And I'll talk about more of these things later on in other videos. But he asked for a single son, and that was a son he named Boba. And this is Boba Fett, the unaltered clone, as an adult. So the comments that were saying, no, Bo-Katan saying, I know your voice. I've heard your voice several times. You are a clone. You're no Mandalorian. And just how that standoff went with the fight between Boba and Koska, and how they just, they put aside their disagreements over who's a Mandalorian, who's not, with the armor, respectively, to come after the greater, for the greater good, basically, to go and take down Gideon and go and save Grogu and take back the Darksaber. So once everyone gets on board, and we can go and fight the stormtroopers, and even having the most, I feel like it was kind of like that one-on-one fighting game fight of the Mandalorian fighting the Dark Trooper, which was very interesting to finally see the Dark Troopers in action, in live action form, from the games that they come from previously. And just to see how that was done, and it was like, wow, this is super intense. And if it wasn't for his armor, he would have been seriously hurt or else. And just to see how things just went to where they finally got up with the rest of the party, got onto the bridge, took out everyone on the ship, and Mando faces off with Gideon and wins and saves Grogu. But then he has the Darksaber. And then we have the moment on the bridge where Bo-Katan is like, just looking at the Darksaber, like, yeah, now I got to fight you for it. And that's it's trial by combat to become the ruler and take the Darksaber. And Mando's like, I don't want this. You can have the Darksaber. I really don't want it. I just came for him. I just came from Grogu. But Gideon is aware of everything, like, no, that's not how this works. And in the middle of the standoff, we finally have our mystery guest of who Grogu was calling out into the Force a few episodes back, and we see this one X-wing flies into view and docks on board, and now I'm sitting there watching this. I'm like, that's Red 5. That's Luke Skywalker's X-wing, and I'm like it can't, like, that has to be Luke. That really has to be Luke. And then the Dark Troopers, as they're trying to storm onto the bridge to save Gideon and kill everyone else that's there, they all turn around and proceed to fight our mystery person. And we see the black robe. I'm like, that's Luke's robe. That's the robe he had in Return of the Jedi. And then you see the lightsaber. I'm like, it's the green lightsaber. That's Luke. And then we see the black hand. I'm like, yeah, that's definitely Luke Skywalker right there. And he has a really cool Anakin Skywalker moment where he uses the Force to crush one of the Dark Troopers. And I'm like, yep, that's something your dad did. Yeah, he did that. So yeah, that's definitely you. And then he finally gets on board the bridge and takes off his robe in Luke fashion. And it's like, are you going to say, I'm Luke Skywalker, I'm here to rescue you? But he doesn't say it. He's like, I'm here for him. And we get a real emotional scene of Grogu looking at Din Djarin like, can I go? Like, I want to stay with you, but I know I have to go with him. And we finally see Din show Grogu his face, and Grogu touching his face. Like, that was very emotional. And we even got to see R2D2. I finally got to see him again, and it was nice to see Luke and R2 together. And it was just like, it felt like this was like a great moment that we could all just cherish. And Luke takes Grogu off in training to help him hone his abilities and everything. And that's where the episode seemingly ends, as we see everyone on the bridge of the light cruiser, with the exception of Boba Fett, who actually left early on when the boarding party boarded the light cruiser. And you guys see that for yourself. It's done really well, like I said. But then, as I'm watching the credits, I'm like, this is really emotional. I'm feeling the love here. I'm feeling the feels, as they say. And then we get the shot of the twin suns. I'm like, oh, we're on Tatooine. And then we see Jabba's palace. I was like, oh, we're at Jabba's palace. This is really cool. And then we see Bib Fortuna. And for a second, I was like, I thought he died on Jabba's sail barge when it exploded. And I really thought about it. I was like, no, he didn't die. Because the only person we really saw that actually died was Jabba. And it didn't seem like, yeah, it's been 5 years, a little bit over 5 years since then. And he's gotten a lot bigger. And then we hear gunshots, and Fennec comes down the ramp and shoots some of the guards. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And then Boba comes down in Boba fashion. It really felt reminiscent of Return of the Jedi. And Bib Fortuna was like, Boba, I thought you died. And he gets shot, and Boba pulls him out the chair and sits down on the throne. Fennec sits on the side. And then we get the Book of Boba Fett coming December 2021. Like, that's a way to end a season right there. Like, Boba's back. He's going to have his own show in the future. I'm really excited. It's a shame we had to wait a whole year to get that, but I'm looking forward to it. I know it's going to be great to see. I want them to take their time with it. Just like we're going to get so many other great Star Wars shows in the future, another movie. But the future of The Mandalorian, it's really hard to say where it's going to go, because to more of the RPG elements of it all, it felt like you are Mando. We are Mando. We are, player one collectively. And you are thrust into this world, this established world, creatures, people living their lives, droids, starships. The New Republic is out here. The Empire is fleeting, still around. They're trying to figure out what's going to happen next with the Empire. Now we all know because we know the timeline. We know what's going to come next, but it's like you are you are the player, and you are making your way around. So when excuse me, Din Djarin finds the child in the very first episode of season one, it's like, okay, you've now found this character, and it's like saying you are now tasked with protecting this character. So now you are now the escort uh, for this character, and then you're meeting people along the way, like either hey, I'll help you, or hey, I want to catch him. So we dealt with all of the bounties on Grogu's head, and how that ended with season one, and then season two, he gets captured, and with all the people you met along the way, with Bo-Katan, Ahsoka Tano, and so many other people that we've met along the way, it felt like you're playing this game. These other people, they already exist in this world, and you're in it, and they're here to help you out or not. And by the end of it, it's like, okay, you've now fulfilled your task, one of your main quests. Because we find at the end of season one, Mando is told, you must take the child back with his kind. So you're given your quest, and he's now fulfilled that quest. Now, along the way, it's like playing any RPG game, you had side missions. We had episodes that were basically side missions. And now we've finished that first main quest of we've now returned Grogu to his people. So now what? What is Mando going to do? What are you as the player going to do going forward? And with so many unanswered questions left up in the air, it's like, what's going to happen next? Are we going to see Mando and Boba together? Is Mando now the rightful ruler of Mandalore because he has the Darksaber? Is he and Bo-Katan going to have a fight to where she can get Darksaber back? It's just so many questions that want to see. How's Kara doing being in the New Republic? Where are characters that we've met before? Where are they? Why weren't they in the finale or things like that? But it's so much that I feel like it was done perfectly that I'm happy right now. I want them to take their time building up the next season, the next shows that we're going to get. But what do you all think? What did you all like about the episode? What did you not like about the episodes? The whole season as a whole, the series as a whole. What are you looking forward to with the new properties that we are getting? The Ahsoka Tano show, the Bad Batch animated series, Rogue Squadron movie. Like, there's so many things that we're getting. A Lando show, a Droids show, basically a Star Wars anime. Things called Visions. There's so much things that we're getting in the future. But tell me in below. Tell me in the comments. What did you think about this episode? What did you think about this season as a whole? I'd love to hear from you. So please hit that notification bell. Subscribe. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in and watching this episode of the Fandom Omnibus podcast. And we'll see you on the next one. There's one other thing I did not talk about. Let's also just talk about how epic it was seeing Bo-Katan, Casca, Fennec, and Kara just honing all the stormtroopers throughout the light cruiser, just going level per level, taking them out. Like, it was like the squad fight that was done so well, where it's like, yep, here's your squad of 4, and you gotta take down the enemies in the game. Like, I really enjoy how it went, especially when it's like they were like on the walkway scene, and basically Fennec and Kara were actually surrounded, and then Bo-Katan and Casca just like flew in with the jetpacks on. It's like took out all the stormtroopers. It's like, yeah, that that's a video game moment right there. I loved it.